Hey, welcome everybody to today's distribution leader panel, the Sales Reps AI Playbook, what's working for distributors today. My name is Brian Hopkins, and I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at DSG, and I'm really excited to be here with a couple of great guests. AI has really moved from that buzzword that nobody really knew what was going on in our industry to becoming a practical tool that sales reps use every single day. So that's where our conversation will begin today, as we cut through all of the hype and all the noise and focus on what is actually happening. But before we do that, I want to remind you of a couple of things that are happening with DSG that are very exciting. First, if you haven't already signed up for our Profit and Productivity Summit, now's the time. This summit is all about how distributors can use emerging AI tools to drive both profit and productivity in ways we really have never seen before. So you can register at profitproductivity.com or just scan that QR code that's on your screen. We've got an amazing group of speakers here at the show, all distribution executives who are working with product and productivity right now with AI. So we got John Wyborg, the CEO of Stellar Industrial, Alex Chashofsky, who some of you may have heard last week talk about what's going on in our economy, Stu Tisdale, the Chief Experience Officer at ADI Global, Tim Brooks, who really is showing some very amazing results and some pretty innovative ways to increase productivity, Dwayne Roberts, President of Summit Electric Supply, Janet Salinka, who some of you have seen before. She's held both CFO and CIO roles at Stericycle and Ascendant, and the king of cost to serve, Randy McLean, as the world's leading expert in cost to serve. So not only do we have the sessions with the speakers, we'll have plenty of opportunities for you to network with distribution executives who are looking to do what you're doing, is focusing on how do I increase productivity and profitability in the business. It's Chicago, November 10th through 12th. Please don't wait. Sign up at profitproductivity.com and secure your spot. We will definitely, hopefully, see you there. The next thing I want to highlight is something we're really excited about, and it's a suite of tools that help distribution executives understand their business better. First one is Customer Experience RX, and this is hands down the best customer survey software available today. Unlike some of the traditional surveys that are out there that either don't understand distribution or they give you just a blank score, this tool shows you exactly where you're performing well and where you need to improve. So if you've got a customer service issue in your branch in Cincinnati, or you have an inventory issue in your Charlotte branch, this tool will pinpoint that. The next one is Employee Experience RX, and that is built on the same exact infrastructure as the Customer Experience RX, but it's focused on your employees. You all know this, we're in a global war for talent, and knowing exactly what your employee experience is more important than ever. And then the last part of the suite is Demand RX, which helps you really estimate the sales potential by product line and account. It uncovers those opportunities that you're going to otherwise miss with generic reporting tools or just Excel spreadsheets. It helps you prioritize where to spend your time, and ultimately, how do you sell more to the customers you already have? So together, this whole suite gives you the visibility and insights and the actions really to help you improve your business. We're really grateful to have our friends Infor sponsor this program. For without them, it wouldn't be possible. Infor, as you all know, is a global leader in business cloud software products for companies in industry-specific markets like ours, distribution, some industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, healthcare, and a whole ton more. They build a complete industry suite in the cloud that helps efficiently deploy technology that puts the user experience first. It leverages data science and integrates easily into existing systems. Infor's mission-critical enterprise applications and services run through the AWS cloud infrastructure. So you know that it has great security, it's got great agility and great scalability. Their modern cloud suite ERP and WMS solutions have distribution industry functionality built in, providing you what is really important, that faster time to value, while making it easy to drive additional revenue through a variety of value-added services helping you elevate the customer experience and achieve that operational excellence. They're obsessed with delivering successful business outcomes for continuing to innovate quickly to solve those emerging business issues and industry challenges we all face. Over 67,000 organizations in more than 175 countries, from the Fortune 500s to the small businesses, really rely on the over 17,000 employees and their deep industry experience to help overcome market disruptions and achieve their business goals. So please visit www.infor.com/distribution to learn more. All right, so I am very thrilled to be joined by two industry leaders who are out in front leading on AI. We've got Mike Powers, who some of you have seen on some of our other shows. He's the Chief Digital and Technology Officer and employee owner at ARG Industrial, and Michael Eichinger, the COO at Base Supply. So thank you both for being here, guys.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. And really excited to connect with my old friend here, Michael, and have a great conversation today. And thank you to all the attendees.
It'll be fun hearing what you guys are working on.
Thank you for having me. It's good to.
So why don't we start this way? Why don't we, Mike, tell us a little bit about your background and your company, and then Michael will follow that up with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Brian, thanks for the intro. My name is Mike Powers. I'm the Chief Digital and Technology Officer for ARG Industrial. We are based out of Anchorage, Alaska. We are an employee-owned company. We have locations all over Alaska, Oregon, Idaho, Washington, pretty much the Pacific Northwest. And we specialize as a light manufacturer and distributor of hose and fittings, lifting and rigging, as well as industrial supplies to our customer base.
Thanks for being here. Michael?
Yeah, Michael Eichinger. I'm the COO of Bay Fastening Systems. Our digital brand is the Bay Supply Fastener Marketplace. It's a vertical marketplace for the fastener industry. We've been in business since 1962. We are part of the Ficus North American group, and our parent company is Descourse Chabad out of France. So we specialize as a master distributor, wholesale distributor of fastener products, and our fastener marketplace we participate in, and we've expanded that digital transformation in order to better serve our customers with more categories.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you guys are here, because, you know, we had a little brief pre-call, and just to hear the things you guys are working on to share with our audience is going to be an amazing conversation. And there's a lot to it. So let's jump in. So let's start with kind of a few years ago, AI and distribution sounded like this fantasy world. You know, I talked earlier about 2019, I put a product recommendation engine in, and nobody really knew what it was, including me, until we learned more about it. So let's open up with this question. So in the practical terms, how do sales reps in distribution, especially in your companies, actually use AI today, right? And how is that different from the way we thought about it maybe a couple of years ago?
Yep, Michael, do you want to give it a start?
Yeah, so sure. The integration of AI into our sales channels is, it's a bit early to say that we have been implementing AI in sales itself. We've been in a lot of development and testing with custom AI applications. A lot of the development it's exciting to see what can be done. What I mean as far as where it will help salespeople is it helps to automate some of the online chat and some of the search functionality for our users in order to alleviate or give the customer immediate answers. This could be related to technical questions on whether a certain item is compatible with other items, or whether they get access to a PDF for information about the product related to the question they have. So this can actually eliminate a lot of the daily noise that takes place for our salesmen in answering a lot of questions. And the evolution of this can expand, as we can see in some of our development, into tying to our ERP customer support, tracking orders, order tracking numbers, a number of questions. So we're training AI in our communications history from a sales and customer service standpoint in order to launch these new software developments that we're putting in place that will tie into our e-commerce exposure.
Yeah. So really eliminating a lot of those questions, right, that sales reps have to take.
A lot of
Yeah,
redundancy, a lot of redundancy. And you know, if you're using online chat now, you find yourself storing a lot of your responses on a copy paste scenario in chat. So, and a lot of it is basic questions that can be answered, you know, by AI if provided access to all the data necessary. But these are new innovations. The thing is, early on, just testing, it's very impressive, and we see this as a cost-saving feature because we can now focus more on productivity, selling, and these basic questions are fundamentally being answered. And this implementation, our launch of this is over the next 6 months. But I'm excited to see what we've been able to do in many areas utilizing AI, but this is one that helps sales.
Yeah, for Brian, on our side, and Michael just laid it out perfectly. And I think a lot of the stuff that he laid out, we're doing. I mean, 2 years ago, myself and I believe 6 members of our team, including our CEO and COO, were at the Applied AI conference. And when we met in the lobby of the Marriott, we realized, and I think it was the gentleman from Granger that talked about the idea of build it or buy it, right? At that stage in the game, like, we left that conference realizing, okay, let's see if we can internally build it, but for the existing software technologies we had in place, how do we leverage? What is the AI roadmap of those partners and vendors we're working with? And a lot of them, you know, are on that journey as well, right? And I know many of them actually, I believe, attend your conference and are active in the DSG community. But, you know, areas that, you know, one of the areas that we left that conference doing is our digital sales analyst was able to, you know, take some of that ERP sales data and create unique sales dashboards, maybe dashboards that complement what our CRM is giving as data sets, right? So, and of course, before building those dashboards, we went through an exercise of making sure that we were cleansing and cleaning that data and making sure that the appropriate data was being used in those dashboards. So internally, it was really cool to see how we could leverage AI to deploy dashboards and insights to our sales teams, both externally and internally. You know, when it comes to our digital branch, I think, Brian, you talked about it, the recommendation engine, right? One of the things that we realized in, you know, in our industry, there's been a moat around the hose and fittings and lifting and rigging industry because high configuration, you know, when somebody's walking in or placing an order with us, that could be a one-of-one product. It's a custom fabricated solution to a problem that customer might have. And we service the oil and gas customers on the North Slope of Alaska. And one of the things that we realized is that when they were using our website, you know, being able to give recommended items through a carousel display, but also the ability to feed in those you know, those recently purchased, or you haven't purchased this assembly in 6 months. Is this something you need? So digitally, we're finding those tools, and of course, the chat or the AI agent that is able to help with quoting or frequently ordered items. All of that is coming from some AI that we're using.
So it sounds like, I mean, your journey started a couple of years ago. There's some that are starting even now and some of that kind of in between. So maybe both of you kind of just outline for me how it started and how it's evolved in the last couple of years.
You know, for us, Michael, and I'll hand it over to you.
Go ahead.
I consider us still training wheels on the bike, right? Like, you know, there's some things internally within our Microsoft 365 environment with AI builder credits where we're trying to leverage that with Power BI dashboards. We're also, as I mentioned a moment ago, really trying to understand what our software partners are doing, whether it's our B2B e-commerce platform, our CRM, or our texting solution. We're trying to integrate some of that in here. And it's been a lot of proof of concepts. Brian, one thing that I think has been super helpful for us is, as we integrate, we've started with AI projects or proof of concepts internally in our technology department and also with our e-com team. But we're starting to sit down and have meetings with our CFO, our head of HR, and realize what are some of those manual tasks that are just flooding your departments that we could leverage AI on. And I got to be quite honest with you, whether it's automating emails to certain email boxes or automatically capturing using AI and email and importing it into our ERP, we're seeing a lot of time and efficiency gained with some of this internal testing. We're not perfect. Yeah. We're trying it, but we're also sharing those insights with our technology partners. And they're an extension of our team and they're helping us as well. So we're learning on the fly and trying as well.
Yeah, Mike, that's impressive because automating internally. So obviously, when you're connecting e-commerce through all of your systems, it's the idea is to streamline processing manual keystrokes and even in warehouse and automation. So when we started, the technology infrastructure and bringing it all in, we saw about an 80% cost reduction when we're dealing with e-commerce transactions. But when we look at AI and where we've looked at opportunity, it wasn't, what we're doing on the marketplace, because we've established Bayes Supplies, an established platform. We kind of serve both sides, the wholesale and the retail side. 50% of our customer base are distributors. We saw an opportunity for the fastener industry to kind of provide a channel for digital transformation for the manufacturers and so forth. And in doing this, we recognize that the quote system in our business is antiquated, and people are spending 8 hours a day shopping, pasting text messages and email and so forth. We've been working for 3 years now on a quote system that will provide automation for the users. So data provided, perhaps offers related to product inventory, pricing, quantity break discount pricing, all those things, if stored in our systems on our platform, it automates the quote response based on the quotes received from the requests. Now, in following that process through, we looked at, how people want to request quotes in this industry. And if it's just simply pasting text strings and going to contact us, this is a real time drag on the labor related. So our quotation program, when we tried to look at not only that, but product onboarding from third-party sellers before it even becomes something that can be quoted, we saw that still antiquated in that you're using spreadsheets, data population, you're breaking down information, which tends to be limited for a lot of the distribution community. Typically ERPs will store only so much product specifications. So it comes down to where they store it, how much they can store. It's a big data job to kind of digitize. And what we did was we looked at, well, how can we help this through? Because we're putting a lot of work on our members that are joining the marketplace to sell products. So we've partnered up with Akitio PIM. But we're testing their new implementation of AI, and we're developing new product development to allow distributors to literally take their information right from their ERP and upload it. And AI is actually capturing all the attribute values that it can identify, categorizing the products, and streamlining the onboarding process. After doing this, we have our quotation program where AI can interpret text strings and auto map values to different fields in order to obtain a quote and search the catalog for products that tie in or match. And if it doesn't, AI will search the web and find related products that may match the request, so it can complete the request for quote so that the sellers have something to go by, because we all know that when we receive requests for quotes, there's usually information missing. It's not
Most
necessarily
times.
clear enough, and we're back and forth. So this kind of helps to streamline the request for quote process, automate it, allow the users to kind of practice what their habits are without asking them to change their habits. A lot of people avoid the request for quote process on websites because they find it's antiquated, and they're used to just sending these messages out. So we've kind of had to adapt for that. And AI was really, the timing of it was perfect, because we ran into so many obstacles in the software development that it's just a perfect solution. And this is all, like I said, it's all in development. It's years in development. AI came into the role where we were able to modify the UX designs, and now we're looking to roll this out, over the next, say, 6 to 8 months. But we're doing back testing now.
So it's
Brian,
interesting.
Can I add to that? Because I think there's an
Yeah, go ahead,
important piece. And
Yeah.
Michael, I'm glad you brought that up. That is exactly a use case,
Mhm.
code acceptance, that we, about 2 weeks ago, leveraged AI to push out. And one of the reasons why we see as an important initiative for us, it's about change management, but also internal adoption of our salespeople. If we can have a
Yeah.
quote that's generated, whether it's through the sales rep or our ERP, and we're leveraging AI with the quote number, and it can be dropped in an email that is either sent from our ERP to the customer, and then when the customer opens it up, they click on that hyperlink for the quote, and it automatically drives them to the quote acceptance cart on our e-commerce website. That was a game changer for us. And I think internally, and I don't want to take his thunder away, but our director of e-commerce, AJ Brenner, that was one, being somewhat, being new to the role in the last 8 to 9 months. What are the tools that are going to allow for us to bring in our people, our salespeople, into our digital branch to make it one platform, not only for
Mhm.
our customers, but our suppliers and our salespeople? So that was a tool that we were really excited to get out, because when we have folks that sometimes might have 8 to 10 hours of windshield time going to see a customer, a quote may not happen for 48 hours, right? And in today's age, you can't have that happen.
Speed matters. Speed matters.
That quote acceptance tool, powered or assisted by AI, that gets the B2B buyer what they're looking for, and they can convert it directly online. I think that's a game changer. So Michael, I'm glad you brought that quote acceptance is an area ripe for the picking.
Yeah. So I'm interested to hear, because you both have a different way of going about the quoting process, but you obviously both chose that as something to get after. What was it like internally for you? So as people who are listening to this start to look at their own business, how did you guys decide these are the use cases we want to attack?
For me, it was just recognizing that it's outdated. It was kind of
Yeah.
like, not only, one thing is to create system automation for order processing. The other thing is to look at the quote process is such a driving daily activity in our industry. There's also, a lack of trust with e-commerce and B2B for the most part, in that, you see a company that might complain about a 5% revenue share from their e-commerce expenditures. And, I always say it's kind of more than that. It's a part of that is, well, are you mirroring your offline sales approach, right? So if I can go on the website and get the same results in price based on quantity or what have you, versus calling you up and getting a completely different number, I'm going to call you. I'm not going to use your website, right? So a website that's just offering just a foundational, minimum quantity, and that's it. And, all it does is let somebody see whether you have it, whether it's in stock, what a general price is. Now I'm going to contact you. I'm going to email you. So getting revenue share on the web is one thing. And the other thing is then, how do you build that automation to streamline the process? And then when you get into AI and you look at opportunities that you can work with, you look at, okay, well, what is bogging us down? And the quote process has always been a bog down for sales. And it's amazing that there are people doing this 8 hours a day. And then you're talking about a non-standardized response. everything has to be tracked. Everything has to be then reformatted. It has to be submitted through the organization. That's an antiquated process that has to change. So we looked at it like this is the area that will improve our efficiency for sales. It will improve the efficiency for our customers and the industry, or at least our industry, which is heavily quote related because, the fastener industry stock is constantly going and we need to know if it's going to be there and forecasting. And of course, now with tariffs, planning. So I think that, it's, that's really what I looked at. It was an area of where we can streamline that process because it's something that is in the dark ages, considering today's technology.
Well, and quoting is obviously something that sales and inside people do all the time, right? So it's a great time saver. But the question, and let me shift to the change about this. You both mentioned change management at some point, but sales reps, how do you get them to adopt those changes? Right? Because, rather than resist or bypass the tool itself, how did you guys go about that?
Involve them, right, Mike? I mean, it's right in its quote program to develop the quote program. All of our UX calls, we involve them in developing the software because there's feedback there that we're not going to come up with, that they come up with, and if we don't involve them, how do we know that there's going to be buy-in? So when they're part of the development and the strategy of creation, they're more adhere to the process. They're invested in it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
100%. One of the things that we're doing, whether it's on our managers meetings or, once a month or, providing an e-commerce update or new functionality, or if there's something that we're in beta testing, we want to make sure whether it's a subcommittee or it's something that we think is going to help with the shipping and receiving department, we get those subject matter experts in there. Right.
Yeah.
And, one of the things we try to do is we want to leverage that tribal knowledge, but we also want to try to see if there's a better way of doing things, right? And so, yeah, absolutely. Involving the key stakeholders is super important. And Brian, can I add one thing to the previous question?
Yeah, of course.
One area that we're seeing is a massive opportunity is the response time of government bids, right? So especially with our Everett branch, in Everett, Washington, some of the Navy bids that come out could be a 250-page PDF, right? Typically, that was somebody on the inside sales team downloading it and going through and trying to figure out ways. That is one area in the business. Yesterday we are trying to have discussions about how do we leverage that. So just wanted to add that to the previous.
That's a great one. We actually had a question come in about something similar. So I don't know if either one of you have seen this yet, but they're asking about these large commercial quote technologies. You sound like you've got the way your business operates. It's a lot of specialty around it. Are you seeing ability to create those kind of quotes where it might be a specialty job being put together, or is it more kind of just the simple quotes that are relevant right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something that, one piece of the strategy I haven't shared was, when we launched our B2B e-commerce platform, about 3.5 years ago, the North Star of our strategy wasn't just having fittings and hose on the website, because we already knew that our customers would drop fitting 1, fitting 2, and the hose in a shopping cart. And in the special instructions, I need a 50-foot assembly. So we were in our quotes, and also with some of the first orders we came through the website, we were seeing that. We developed a software. So on the ARG Industrial website, we have the ARG Hose Builder. So it's not a direct CPQ offering, but it allows for our end users to configure a hose assembly, right? And so, Brian, one of the things, and I'm glad this question came in, is having somebody be able to go through that journey, create a quote, but also get a either a drawing or a spec, because we're realizing that we have a lot of engineering departments that are using the website but not placing orders. And this goes back to what Ian and Jonathan talked about, and you guys, Brian, might talk about it, the e-commerce website being Allen Iverson, not Michael Jordan. It's the assist to the traditional business of how the revenue is coming in, right? And so we're actually in version 2 of the hose builder. There's embedded AI. It's going to be done through conversation and voice, but we're also going to allow for drawings so that that B2B customer that is more of an engineer end user will be able to get that drawing as a quote. So yeah, that's TBD.
Kudos on that one. That voice and kind of a guided questioning process to establish their own quote for a custom product. That's innovative. That's cool. Yeah, and I can see all that evolving, but that's definitely early stage.
There's so many possibilities in the limited time that we have to be able to do this kind of stuff, right? It's just it's unbelievable. So let's talk a little bit about sales process change, right? Have you had to change the overall sales process you had in place? And if so, how did you do that once you've introduced some of these tools?
Go ahead, Mike.
For us, I think that, having a top-down approach, our board, our CEO, our ELT team, digital is as important as us greenfielding a new branch. So in our company, we look at the digital branch as if it is a brick and mortar. That is how important it is to us. And I think one of the drivers of change, Brian, for our team is tying the profit share incentive program as an ESOP that we have for employee owners, having a measurable on actual revenue and transactions coming through the website and in quoting. So overall adoption of the tool. And, if we can leverage both the, internal tools that can be used on the website and also drive tools for the end users, it's been pretty important for us to have the digital adoption a piece of the overall profit share incentive that we have in the company.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that we faced was more about in the initial phase. We had some luck in that our sales team is always in-house. We didn't have people on the road. We didn't have to deal with the buy-in and commission structures, and so we kind of diverted away from that challenge. So we were lucky. But when we look at how everyone in the organization through that transformation took place, that was a major, opportunity for us. But as it naturally progressed, people are hesitant in adopting it. But if it's going to save them time, it's going to make them operate more efficiently. There's a buy-in all the way. But from an organization standpoint, there's always an ROI element, and it's not just about digital. It became real clear to us that the entire organization in its traditional offline sales were benefiting from all of our digital initiatives. So, we're constantly looking at this as a driving force for our business moving forward. All of our customers aren't buying online, but one of the things is we know that as time goes on, more and more of them have. And we continue to increase that percentage share of customers that want that digital experience. So I think that, looking at it overall, digital is a driving force for offline sales as well. It's just a matter of the landscape and how things continue to transform.
Yeah, I think I'd like to add something to Michael's point, because that was one area when I talk about us developing KPIs, measurables, whatever the term you want to call it. It was important for us to not just talk about the website being the assist to the business. So the ability to create reporting around, here is new revenue from existing customers that have never been previously quoted. So identifying and tracking those in the ERP, but then leveraging reporting with site analytics and maybe some of the things in the back end of the e-commerce system that is showing you, hey, this customer in a 30-day period has done 246 searches, has maybe 2 online orders, but if you look through the ERP and traditional sales reporting, you're realizing, you're tracking that the site is driving revenue through the store or through our sales rep.
Right.
So we have another one that comes in. It's a topic that I wanted to hit. Before I go there, though, what's really important, you both talked about the importance of digital and what it means overall, but what it's really going to mean in the next 18 months to 2 years is when these agents start entering the marketplace. When these digital AI agents are sent on a task to go find product and you don't have your digital house in order, it's not going to stop and call a sales rep, or it's not going to stop and call a branch. It's going to move on to the next website or the next piece of information where it's going to get what it needs. So that idea of you guys being on the front end of digitally being ready, not just for what you're doing today, but for the future, is really important.
That is it's even more than that. I mean, we all know 14% to 60% of organic traffic was the decline rates with the emergence of AI generative search. So, now, this is why this whole evolution is in a lot of ways frustrating, right? Because while we get excited about the implementation of new technology, trying to operate more efficiently, we're always thrown curveballs. So all these years we have been investing in SEO to optimize search, trying to figure out the best strategies there. And now everybody they always think they got the formula down for now. Google constantly changing the algorithm. And now we've got AI generative impacting our organic results. So we now have to reinvent GEO or AEO.
GEO's a thing all of a sudden. Yep.
Yeah. And it's a whole new path of testing, and no one really knows whether they have the right formula to go forward, but it requires if you've got a lot of content, a lot of blog content, it requires really using AI to modify some of the coding on your website and modify your content, look for different ways to be attracted and to kind of build this new type of search engine optimization. It's another challenge.
And we're always rolling with challenges in distribution, right? It's not one thing, it's the other. Couple questions from some of your peers. One of them around the customer, right? So the customer obviously is the key to everything that we do. And their question is, what's the feedback you're getting as a result of some of these trials and some of the implementations you've done?
I mean, from us and Michael in our ahead of this conversation, I think we're leveraging or looking at, solution with AI assisting in site search. I think that, customers, I think especially during the beta testing phase, having our customers provide feedback and pressure test it, right? I think for all of this, we go back to for my organization, it's around proof of concept, right? And, you can't wait for it to be perfect, right? If you wait for perfection, you're never going to do it. And you're never going to see progress. But, for us, we've tried to align some of, there are end users in our customers that are excited about technology. They're excited about AI, but we also have customers that are wary of AI. So we're trying to use that as an opportunity to introduce to them that, hey, we're not looking for AI to replace the tribal knowledge of our people and what we do, because in some cases, what we're building, if it's not done correctly, the end user can incur great bodily harm, right? So how do we always have AI as the number 2, as the assistant, as that someone that can kind of guide you, but always tap the sales rep or somebody in the organization, say, hey, just, if you're unsure, here's ARG to make sure that, you're in good shape. But a lot of that has been through kind of R&D and beta testing with end users. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, very much so. And it leads me to that next kind of topic of a hallmark of a distributor rep is that long-term relationship they have with customers, right? know their family's birthdays, they know their holidays, they know the process that the customer goes through to place an order, all the unique things that a distributor sales rep brings to it. So how do you balance this need for exploration, this need for productivity and better results, quite frankly, in some cases, with that human experience that has to continue?
Now, that was one of the things when we looked at online chat and, of course, site search, as Mike had mentioned, site search, you're bringing a lot more of the information more relevant and upfront. I mean, site search with AI moving in the next 5 years, it's going to make search that as we've known it to look as if it was, when we used to receive the AOL disc in the mail, but the element of trying to make sure that while you're leveraging AI for all of these resources, you're still maintaining that customer relationship and allowing customers not to feel as if they're being thrown to, nobody likes these phone automated messages. We used to get people on the other end. So we need to make sure that the balance is there. So we're always going to provide the opportunity to speak to somebody or communicate with somebody directly. And those are things we're putting in play, like, okay, great that we're leveraging AI. We can only trust it so far. It's certainly much better than what we've seen over the last 5 years or so, where they were trying to introduce this kind of thing. But certainly you have to give the customer the ability to say, no, I want to connect to this person, and keeping the sales force involved in the activity of accounts, questions on orders. There's still that same, oversight that's taking place. So it's not fully automated the whole way. But that's something we've consciously looked at. I think Mike's looked at it. Mike's a little further along on the search and bringing AI into the forefront with his customers. So I think the discovery of that and where you're going with it, Mike, is something we haven't had too much concern with. We did when we're looking at this type of interaction. And as a marketplace, we had another element, which is, tying the actual seller, the distributor selling product, how they're brought right into the conversation using chat. Before that, you could never do that. So we're bringing, online chat to all of our sellers. So if they're actively online, they're receiving inquiries from customers on the fly. Cool. So yeah, you couldn't do these things before, but you still have to be cautious as to how much you're using the AI and still giving people that personal tie-in with a person.
Yeah.
And on our side, Brian, I think, it's shortening the time to serve, right? Like that's really, if we can leverage AI to get our salespeople to be able to, make sure that the ability to serve the customer quickly, efficiently, and make sure that they're happy is a goal, right? And I think for those sales reps that, we have some folks that, are excited about it. They want to learn it. They want to learn about the AI. They're showing up to our biweekly webinars, learning, from our director of e-commerce on, some of the things that can happen more quickly with some of the tools that we're using with AI. But just realizing and being open to some of those order taking tasks that they've kind of relied on as part of servicing the customer, getting them to see that we can take a lot of that away, serve the customer in a faster manner, and then allow for them to do what they're best at, whether it's site audits or focusing on new business, where they can really leverage the tribal knowledge of what they specialize in. So that's something we're focused on.
Yeah, how do you make sure that it's a augmentation of what they do versus a fear of replacement? And
a compliment versus a conversation about being cannibalized. I mean, Andy Hor's famous 2017, right? The death of the B2B sales salesman was that famous Forrester research. And I remember he was at many speaking events, and that just, and even with AI, right? Like, I think there's still fear around that, but again, get with your people, try to have some small sessions, like Michael said, where bring them into the fold. What are some of the things that, we can help you with in your day-to-day, and identify some of them, and then internally have some discussions from your technology team and say, hey, are there some exercises or things we can try? Or take that example and go to some of the software partners you have and say, hey, here's an example of what we're trying to do internally. Have you guys thought about this?
Yeah, and have you seen, and that's a good lead into the technology side of this, whether you're, it sounds like you're building some of it on your own, but when you're choosing a vendor or talking to your current vendors about that, what have you seen from them in terms of their response and being able to implement what you're talking about, or are they on a roadmap, or what have you guys seen?
Michael, you want to give it a go?
Yeah, I would say something that has kind of taken me by surprise is there's a lot of times, I would want to ask a question about a need that we have, and I'd hold back because, I just figured it's not possible, right? Like, I want my website to make me a cup of coffee, like it's just not going to happen, right? But I asked these crazy questions, and I started getting yes to these questions. So I said, we don't, when I talk to my sales team, I'm like, we don't need to really hold back. You can go to Mars if you want. Just ask, lay out the problem, ask if there's a solution that can be found, and you'd be surprised with technology today as to the many ways that we can kind of attack that. And that's where like innovation starts to come into play. So, we're kind of limitless on what we ask. Sometimes it's funny because it just can't be done, but we don't hold back. We just say, this is our problem, this is what we want to do. And we find that the vendors out there are really racing to leverage technology to improve their products over their competitors. So they're more willing to, even if they don't have that solution in place, product development teams are like on call to start developing some of these solutions for your unique purpose. So I find a lot of cooperation, with the different technology partners that we have in kind of building for us our unique needs, which it used to never be that way. This is our software. This is what it is off the shelf. This is what it does. But I find now there's a lot more flexibility with these software, with these different solution providers to work with you and build unique needs for what you have, because they're learning just like us on how this technology is going to really help future companies. So the more they learn from you, the more they implement for you, the more it becomes something they can leverage later. So now's a really good time with this whole learning curve and everybody trying to be ahead of or in front of their competition to really start working with these different software companies and just to lay out your problems and ask them for unique solutions. And I think they'll be more flexible now to do it.
Michael, that's one of the, I think that is a huge takeaway from this call, because we're in the same position. I also think the time is now for folks that do have unique use cases that these product development teams are eager to almost co-develop the solution with you. And guess what? If you're able to co-develop, there's either a financial benefit to it, whether it's using that piece of the module, or you're able to help them improve their product to go to market. And, as the kind of the pioneering customer that leverage that use case, that co-development partnership, can produce some positive things for your business as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great advice, is getting after your current vendors, and just like to your point, you want to go to Mars, Michael, ask the crazy question. You never know what's going to come up.
I had somebody, our head of our shipping and receiving, literally last week, he did a presentation to myself and the rest of our technology team and said, hey, this is an app that I'm interested. I would like to see if we could do, use either Dataverse or Power BI to create an app. So on the left-hand side of Teams, where the shipping and receiving team would be able to click on it, and it literally just tracks for shipping and receiving discrepancies. It has images of the packing slip. Like, he went through this, and my team's like, well, hold on. Like, you're asking for us to build this software? I mean, I love it, and it sounds like you could do it, but I'm sure one of our vendors would like to see that use case and say, hey, yeah, there's an opportunity there.
That's great. That just kind of shows you the innovation that exists in your company. It's amazing.
and trying to build it first, or
Yeah.
I put ideas around the solution internally before just going out to the marketplace and either researching or maybe even getting frustrated on trying to find that exact use case.
Yeah, that's what employee ownership will do for you, right? It'll force you to think a little differently. It's great.
100%.
So there's a couple of questions. We got a few minutes left, but there's a couple of questions that are in here around security. So that's obviously a big deal. Whether you're using your own hosted LLM or you're using one of the ones that are out there, are you guys using those, first of all? And then second of all, how did you guys think about the security around that and around your data?
Well, for us, none of the personal information is going through any AI related stuff, perhaps order numbers, but we had to, also when we look at, what areas of our data is being protected from AI access. But I think for us, we're more focused on product data information and not so concerned about that because we're not making anything else available to AI other than order numbers. But it is an interesting scenario because in speaking with, let's say, a lot of these companies are contracting out with, say, a ChatGPT, there is this question as to how protected is the information that's being shared. And,
Yeah.
even when,
Yeah.
they talk to OpenAI about this, I forget the gentleman's name, the creator, but he's, he basically said, listen, it's definitely a risk. We all know it. And, what are we doing to control it? We need more regulation, but coming from the creator's mouth, coming from the people that own it, that are being paid for this, there's definitely a risk inherent with AI if you're giving certain access to AI of customer information. So we're cautious of that point, but I do believe that things are going to transition. And Mike, I take it based on the fact that you've gone to the next maturity level of looking at security. What did you guys put in place to address this?
Yeah, so one of the things that externally, I know that my director of e-commerce, there's been a lot you're absolutely right, Michael, when it comes to leveraging AI around product recommendation, product enrichment, so whether it's Perplexity or ChatGPT, and paying for your own environment and having the option of only having it. And it's a toggle button, let's be honest, right? That says, we're not going out to bring anything. This is your data. So I think with the product data and images and all of that, that is something that we've leveraged. What we've tried to do is, because we're leveraging everything from our ERP into Microsoft, and Power Apps and Power BI, we've been careful about leveraging. That you have your AI builder. You guys, for many, you probably heard that the NFL and Microsoft, with the Copilot initiative, with the tablets on the sideline, they're using AI for recommended plays or reviews. With the AI builder credits in Microsoft, we're using that to kind of harness and curate some of the customer data that's in our environment, right? But Michael, to your point, we are not, the training wheels are still on the Spider-Man bike and we haven't taken them off yet. So I think we're also relying on our software providers in our ERP vendors to make sure that we're not opening up ourselves to any type of ransomware or attack.
Makes sense. All right, with a couple of minutes left, you guys both have said you're on a different spot in your journey, and we got others that are kind of just starting it, right? So if you're sitting in the audience, thinking about what to do, what advice would you tell your peers to say how to get moving, how to move forward?
Well, pain points.
Yes.
What it all comes down to. Where's the pain? Where's the bleed in the organization? What are you doing? I mean, and it really comes down to, when Google first came out and the term Google it,
Yeah.
when it first came out, people were, you'd have to be reminded to Google it because you could just Google it and get an answer, right? Well, now it's, use ChatGPT, right? Go and go Copilot, ChatGPT. So So you have to remind yourself, and as you go through different tasks throughout your day, challenges in the organization, you start to, instead of Googling it, you start ChatGPTing it, and you realize that the answers are instantaneous. So when you look at where to start in your organization, it's kind of like, okay, well, what's my pain point? Actually, the implementation of AI and technology in your organization can be guided through the use of AI in your discovery. Here's some of our challenges. Here's some of our bottlenecks we're looking for, and even the guidance on solution providers to help you with your research. So I have found that our time in research, we needed to consolidate data in order to make things more normalized, and to help us to present products better to our customers and to improve and enrich our products. I mean, we all know people are using AI for different elements in this, but we had over 1,000 categories, as I said before before we got on this call. Over 1,000 categories, 20,500 attribute values, and you have to try and cohesively bring this together to migrate it to a new software or PIM. It couldn't be done without AI unless I wanted to bring in hundreds of people. So, and the amount of time it took to do this was about 2 weeks. So it's insane. So when you start looking at where to start, it's kind of saying, okay, let me make it a habit to kind of utilize it in my analysis of where our company stands, where our pain points are, and let me start to explore possibilities of where to bring it in. And then that will guide you down your path. I think it's clear that you're gonna see the aha moments in doing it that way. Also, in your current e-commerce journey, wherever you stand in your, between your e-commerce website, your automation leverage through your organization to streamline transactions, your warehouse on automation to streamline, all those things are part of the foundations that allow you to start to move up the ladder in technology adoption. So it depends on where you are in this process as to where you can employ these new strategies.
Great advice.
And Brian, in our case, one area that we had a meeting with our CFO and the accounting department was on the AR side. Having POs from manufacturers that are emailed via their own, procurement system, and just the manual data entry of those receivables into our system. I mean, right now, I think it was a 2.5-week project, and 80% of the manufacturer POs coming into the business are now automatically via, with AI getting into our ERP. And that was after just meeting with the decision maker and that team, those stakeholders, and try to understand the use case. So that's one from our end.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's no shortage, right? But I like the idea of being able just to focus where the pain's at, because there's usually a lot of pain sometimes. Yeah. Well, guys, we're coming up on the top of the hour. This has been an amazing conversation, and we could probably go in a whole other hour, but we all have work to do. So I sincerely appreciate you guys showing up. Hopefully the audience got a lot out of it. I know I certainly did. But before we go, let me just tell you about the next couple things that are coming up. Next week, talk about technology. We're going to have the distributor DreamStack technology with Kristen from White Cup and Jeff Van Pelt from Cognitus. And this one is going to be really interesting as well. And this is how AI agents are going to change distribution. This will be a really futuristic conversation. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to be your host for both of them, so hopefully you're not sick of me after this one. But we're going to have Brooks Hamilton, who is AI Strategy Advisors founder and CEO, and we'll have a couple of other panelists announced here in the next couple of weeks. So appreciate your time, guys. Amazing conversation. You guys run great businesses, and appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Michael, we'll talk soon. And thank you to everybody that attended. Thank you.
Yeah.